Well, hi everybody. This is Dear Mama Sal, and we are live again on a Friday evening. And welcome to all of you, whether you are watching live, whether you are in the chat room with us here, or whether you are watching from afar. Welcome. If you're watching on the replay, great to have you as well. Today, we've got a couple of case studies for you because I think it is so much easier to learn things when you can relate it to something personal that's happening. And I really wanted to say that I appreciate the input. Oh, that didn't help. I'm sorry about that. um, that teaches me not to click screens while I'm busy chatting. What we're going to be talking about are how not to take things too personally, and also, hopefully, how you can see that changing our thinking changes our mind and therefore changes our level of happiness. Hi there to Jodi. So tonight we're going to go straight into the first case study, and that was one that Jodi very kindly shared with me. Hi, Lauren. Good to see you here as well. And Jodi shared this with me, and I would like you to hear it. And hi, Isabel. Love the red. Yes, you do, don't you? I don't wear it very often, I must admit. I don't wear this very often. It's normally around Christmas time, but it was getting a little chilly today, and I thought, gosh, I think I will just put on this cardigan. Anyways, thank you for that, Isabel. Very kind of you. And so this is Jodi's story. I was talking to Jodi earlier this week, which probably was yesterday, and she was busy telling me that the snow was busy melting enough to be sliding off her roof. Now, to make sure that you all have this visual correctly, Jodi is, as I think a lot of you know, pretty well incapacitated. She makes it from her hospital bed in her living room to a recliner. And she was on the recliner, and the recliner is just right next to the window where the snow is dropping off the roof. Now, can any of you imagine that can be quite a devastating sound, especially when you remember she lives in New Hampshire? So, what she was telling me was that each time the snow shifted, she screamed. And I said, wow, really? And she said, yeah. And just to give you a little bit of background on this, because I think it is important, um, Jodi's says that she has a childhood trauma related to her grandmother's abuse. She was always smashing things and nasty like that. So she is easily startled because of that memory that's playing in her brain. And so therefore she said even, something like a phone ringing will startle her. And the fact that, a great big lump of snow coming off the roof um, drops suddenly behind her head, you can imagine causes her quite a bit of stress. So what I did was I really gave that some thought. And what it struck me, knowing Jodi as well as I do, is that probably was also quite a bit of stress for example, Lionel. And the reason that I said that was because, we all know how important Lionel is in her life. And I was trying to imagine what it must be like for Lionel every time Jodi screams out of fear. And so I said to her, how's Lionel coping with that? um, and can you understand that? Because when Lionel, hi there, Nana. When Lionel loves her as much as Lionel does, you can imagine each time that Jodi screams, Lionel's going to have all his defenses up as well. So, it was a really interesting conversation to have. And apparently, Lionel was quite well under control over it all, from what I could gather. However, I also was aware of the fact that this probably, if you think about it, was having some impact as well on her little puppy of, how old is Taylor now? A year? Um, because if you can imagine that Taylor, you know, thinks Jodi, is its mum, and if every couple of minutes, its mum screaming, you can imagine this probably was having effect on the dog as well. So what I did was I asked Jodi to give some thought to that. It's almost 2 now, really. Seems like yesterday. So there's a little bit of history here about Taylor, the little puppy as well. It's a cross Eskimo something. We call it the fluff ball because that's all it is. It's like an oversized fluff ball. But it's not even oversized. I don't know how many pounds Taylor is, but not very many. I think you could American Eskimo and a pom. There you go. So you can imagine it's just really like a walking fluff ball, and 8 pounds. I mean, seriously, don't blow too hard. Taylor will fall over. I keep thinking that Bean was 85 and all muscle. So that was quite a difference, right? All right. So, but the point that I wanted to make was I was pretty certain that Jodi would be deeply concerned about both Lionel and the puppy. So if I could bring her mind out of her emotion, you remember that we keep saying that one of the interesting things of learning this year is that we are talking about the fact that every thought that we have has to come through our emotional mind to get to our rational mind. And so what I wanted to do was to find a way to get Jodi to leave this scary place and get into a different place. And the two things that I thought of, one was Lionel and one was the puppy. And so what I did was to just get her mind refocused. And what I suggested is that the next time it falls, you know how when you get a fright, you automatically breathe in, you like this. I said, but as you exhale, try laughing if you can. And so the reason, that was important is because it was important for her to understand that she could control it if she chose to some degree. Now, the background on the puppy was that for the first 8 weeks of his life, little Taylor was in an environment where the woman that was taking care of him and his little brothers and sisters, along with Taylor's mum, the man in the house was an abusive little so-and-so and was constantly yelling and creating chaos around the puppies. He didn't even want them in the house. So you understand that Jodi had some emotional connection to the fact that noise might be affecting Taylor. And the incredible thing was that in this learning moment, that Jodi actually managed to change what was happening. So you understand that up until this point, the snow was falling. Jodi was reacting in fear, understandably, and then screaming. Now, Jodi, just so that everybody understands, I'm not making this up. What happened to you once you realized that Taylor could be negatively impacted by your screaming and that it could be traumatic for the puppy? Now, the reason I wanted you all to hear about this is because I'm pretty sure that all of you at some level will probably be able to relate at a time where you actually did more to help somebody else than you did to help yourself. Whatever that is, maybe that you lost weight because it was somebody's wedding and so you decided to lose weight, or that quite often we are inclined to do things for the benefit of others rather than just ourselves. And so Jodi's saying that she immediately was able to stop her fear reaction. Yay, way to go, Jodi. Because the thought of causing Taylor to relive trauma mortified her. Hi, Beth. So then, Jodi, let's work this out. What did you need to let go of in order for that to happen? If we know that your natural reaction to the noise of the snow falling was fear, based on your background, what did you let go of to be able to react a different way? See, that is the interesting thing, because we know in order to get into reality, the we need to let go of some. All right, Jodi is so simple at times, right? She said, "My baggage." Yeah, if Jodi lets go of her past conditioning, she can immediately get into reality, which is, oh, what's it? That was snow falling, and not have to scream. So, how much snow has fallen since we had the conversation, Jodi? How much has fallen off the roof? Let's put it that way. Because I want you all to realize that we all have things where this is relevant. We all have conditioned responses to things. And we can choose to let go of it. Beth, I keep thinking about, for the longest time, you had a conditioned reflex to enable your daughter. And you did a great job of being able to change that. All right, so Jodi's saying that after we had this discussion and she realized what was happening, the snow fell off the roof about 4 or 5 times. How many times did you scream? I don't know the answer to this, by the way. So as a lawyer, this would be a very bad question. 0 screaming. Wow. So can you all understand that what Jodi did is she interrupted the emotional response? That is awesome, Jodi. I am so proud of you. Right? And now you can see how just a little bit of reframing what you're thinking about can change your life in many, many ways. If you automatically get this response, just by reframing it in your mind, will help a great deal. All right, so now the next one was, I want to say, well, Jodi's, for those watching on the replay, Jodi's just thanking me, and saying I really appreciate the help. Jodi, if I didn't know that you were having the problem, if you hadn't discussed it with me, you understand I would not have been able to help you. And also, if I hadn't been doing the work that I've been doing recently in terms of getting a better understanding of this, so hopefully to be able to share it with you guys, I probably wouldn't have understood it either, that this interruption of the pattern can make a dramatic difference to the way in which we react. But it just is that split second, right, that you inhale out of fear, but what you do on the exhale can change if you become really aware. So big round of applause, Jodi. I'm really amazed that you were able to do that and to reframe it immediately. Do any of you know of neuro-linguistic programming? I think that came into being with Tony Robbins way back in the early days. He was the one that gave it a lot of traction. Yeah, Jodi's saying this will stay with her in a good way. Yeah. Well, it's, I think it's something that we can all learn from. All right. Now, the second one we have is one from Lauren. And this one I thought we would use to see if we can help Lauren in some way, because Lauren's had a tough time of it recently through, various things happening to her. And as you know, she has been in and out of hospital. Hold on one second. Let me read Beth's comment here. I'm kind of scared to take over when my store manager leaves. I've put myself in a position that people think I'm Superwoman. Yes, Beth. And you can see that you have set yourself up for that. So that's a great one. So what do you need to let go of for people to stop seeing you as Superwoman? Or do you rather like being Superwoman? You know what I mean? It's like there's a reason why they think you're Superwoman, because that is what you have shown them. Beth, I have a piece of advice for you that you might or might not choose to take on. So let me know if you would like to hear it. Okay, so Beth's saying in order for her to maintain in reality and rational thinking, she needs to let go of her mistakes, right? To get out of being concerned about the mistakes. Yes, and let them see you a little bit vulnerable, but still Superwoman. You know, because I think it is fair to say, Beth, that even with your mistakes, you're still Superwoman. And, you know, if you can have a sense of humor and be a little self-deprecating, you know, laugh at yourself a bit, you will teach them all a lot of great skills. Yeah, hello, I didn't say I was perfect. I just said I was Superwoman. You know, it's just like perfection. Yeah, that takes a whole lot longer. So, yes, I like being Superwoman. It makes me feel happy. Yes, that's why I wanted to check whether you wanted to let go of being Superwoman because I couldn't imagine it. However, what I do believe of you, Beth, and I believe it at a very deep level, is you have the ability to create another Superwoman. I am pretty sure that you would love to be able to do that. You know, if you didn't hear the broadcast at lunchtime, I encourage you to listen to it because it was the follow-up on Emma's story, which was quite interesting because it came with its own baggage. And yeah, so Beth's saying on her personal journey, she wants to show she can make mistakes and go with the flow. Yeah, and that would be a great role model to show you, the rest of your staff. So the point that I would like to encourage you, Beth, is to deal with your stuff by teaching other people what you know. All right, and so you know when they make a mistake, be compassionate enough to say, "Gosh, I can imagine how that feels." Because you know how that feels, Beth, you've been there. And then say to them, all right, what could just so that we know for next time, what could you have done better so that didn't happen? All right, I knew you knew the answer to that. All right, so you don't need me. You can work it out, all right? And so you understand if you can do it that way, they are going to do so much for you. All right. If you don't guilt them out of stuff, if you actually just let them know that they're human. However, if they're making mistakes every day, every day, then that's a whole different story. But we're talking about the occasional mistake. All right. So I wanted us, if we can, to, and by the way, if anybody else has a situation they'd like to discuss, just put it up. Beth saying, I've seen a lot. I want to change, but my second in command has been there 7 years and won't see my views. It's hard. All right. So, Beth, who has been chosen to take over? Your second in command or you? I had that happen to me once, Beth, where I was promoted to run a whole group of people. And to be honest, Beth, at the time, I was the youngest in the group and I was picked to lead them. And it was a big promotion, huge. And I can assure you that there was an awful lot of muttering about why I got the job. And you know what I did is I got all my staff together, Beth, and I said to them, I'm pretty sure that some of you are, if you're human, pretty upset that I got the job ahead of you when you've been in the company longer than I have. So that would be quite normal. And I have really good news for you. Um, I believe the reason is, and I told them, but if you'd like to check that out with my boss, go right ahead. The other thing I'd like to say is I do have the job. I was picked. And whether that's fair or not is irrelevant. I have been given the responsibility of, you know, of leading the team. And I did this on a Friday, Beth. And I said, I understand it's a bit of a shock to you all. And I would suggest that you take the weekend and give a little bit of thought whether, you want to have me lead you or not. And if you do, that's great. Come in on Monday and we will, turn this into one awesome team of people. Or, let me have your resignation on Monday if you don't think you can do this. And it was amazing the shock that people had. And what I really was doing, Beth, is giving them, make a decision. So that's a pretty harsh, but you understand, the sooner I got them out of their emotional stuff and into reality, I am now the new boss is the reality. That's the rational thing. Your emotion could slow down the transfer of power, if you like. So therefore, you got the weekend to sort that out if you want to. The interesting thing was not one person resigned. Yeah. And you see, I agree with you, Beth, because my next conversation that I had with them is, you all know what needs to change. Let me know. And they're going, what? And I said, well, the difference is I want to know what you think needs to be changed in order for us to succeed. So I am now going to listen. And I know what your goal is, Beth. I totally get that that's what your goal is. And so I have every belief that you will end up getting your own store. There's, if you keep doing what you're doing, there's no reason why you wouldn't. I can see you being regional manager before very much longer. And I'm not quite sure what the regional manager is going to do about that. But, it's like, the other thing is this, that whatever position the regional manager gets, he's going to want you on his side. Right. So Beth's saying, I want it all and a bowl of chips. Is that bad? No, I don't think so. I think it's what you're capable of, and you know it. You see, that's the difference, Beth. I believe that is, you have proven to yourself that you are actually worthy of a good job. I keep thinking about that member of your family that thought this was a loser job. Yeah, right. However, as long as you're doing it in balance, as long as you are doing it in a healthy way, that would be my only concern for you, having been down that route as well. I want to get on to Lauren's story because there's a lot that I think you're going to hear about Lauren's story that you'll relate to. Plus, I'm hoping that we're able to give Lauren some ideas of, some other ways of dealing with this sort of situation. And for those of you who know Lauren, you know that she's been in and out of hospital for how long now, Lauren? Months. You were in hospital for like 4 months or something last year, and then you just got out, and then you ended up going back in again, and then you got out, and then you injured yourself again. For those of you who don't know, Lauren is in a wheelchair, and she is having problems with when she hurts herself. She actually has problems because the wound doesn't heal properly and gets infected, and that ends up in hospital. All right, so just so everybody that's listening and might not know, she's been in hospital for 4 months. She was in hospital 4 months last year and for 5 weeks this year. Good improvement on that one, Laura. But the problem was when she got out after her 5 weeks, I think within that first week, she did a mischief to her toe. And that already isn't healing the way it's meant to. And just correct me here, Lauren, when I don't get anything right. So this is the backstory that you need to know to understand what happened to her. Within 2 days, she did this number on her toe. And the toe is not healing as fast as it's meant to, which means she's got the problem again. Now, she has a nurse that comes to visit her, if I'm correct on this one, Lauren. And the nurse came in the middle of a situation where Lauren had been on her shower chair. All right. So she has one chair that she wheels into the shower. Oh, it's her whole leg, not just her toe. Okay. How did you do that? Okay. But anyway, she has this shower chair. She'd had a shower and she was wheeling out of the shower situation. What she did is she took the cushion from um, her wheelchair and put it on the bed. And at that moment, the nurse came in, saw the cushion for the wheelchair on the bed, and she made an assumption that that Lauren wasn't using the cushion that she's meant to use, and therefore putting more pressure on her leg. And in fact, was bold enough to say, "You're creating your own problems here." Now, I don't know about the rest of you, but that would feel pretty nasty. All right. If that wasn't the situation at all, she made an assumption because she saw the cushion on the bed that Lauren wasn't using the cushion properly, which was not true. Just that Lauren needed yeah, she needed to put the cushion there just because she was transferring from one to the other. So you see, this is the whole thing. So the assumption was made, and I'm sure, Lauren, that you reacted internally if you didn't do it externally. Yes, all right. Beth saying that her response would have been seek first to understand before you accuse me. All right. And I'm not sure what Lauren actually said to her, but the story has a second part to it, which I'm just going to tell before we start helping Lauren. What happened was Lauren went to go and see the doctor this week. And the doctor's opening comment to her when he came in to see her was, "I hear you're not using your cushion properly." Which means that the nurse had reported that to the doctor. So I don't know about the rest of you, but I think I would have been a little bit tweaked on that one as well. But what I said to Lauren was, let's be real here. As a nurse, it is her job to keep the doctor informed of anything that she thinks might be relevant. So, I can understand why the nurse did it, even though the information she had was not correct. So then my question to Lauren was, and what did you tell the doctor? And I just want to check that I've got the information right to save her doing a lot of typing, because I think I've got the answer here somewhere. Just hold on. All right. So, and this is what she wrote to me. She said, "So I managed to get past it and went to see my doctor yesterday. The first thing he said was, 'I hear you're not using your cushion.' I said, 'Of course I'm using it.' And then he went on to make a comment about he was deeply disturbed that my leg had gone bad again so soon after coming out of hospital." What Lauren then did was she said she ignored it because she had a feeling that if she said something, she would regret it. In other words, it might not have been too kind. I felt that instead of accusing me, he should have asked me about things first. He should have, checked in first. Now I'm convinced he thinks I am self-harming. For those of you who might not understand that for some reason that he now thinks that she's creating the problem for herself. So can all of you understand the story as far as it went? When Lauren told me this story, my first question to her was, "Are you?" And Becca, can we talk about that when we finish the lesson, honey? I'm delighted to hear that. And Jodi, just remind me, please, to get back to it. So my question to Lauren was, you know, are you self-harming? And Lauren said, of course not. And I said, no, but I got to ask the question. All right, because it's important for you to give that some thought. Okay, thanks. I knew you'd understand, Becca. So it's important that you give that some thought, right? Which is, are you at some deep subconscious level maybe doing that so you can get into hospital and get all the attention that one gets in hospital? And I wasn't being cruel. I was being as practical as I could, because sometimes, we do things like that without realizing it. I had it happen once in my life, which is why I know it's possible. I kept being in and out of hospital in 1 year of my life. And I had a top specialist come and sit with me and go, Sal, I need you to give a bit of thought. I said, okay. And they said, we can't find out what's wrong with you, but we know something is. So I need you to help me. And this specialist was a woman, and she was wonderful. And she literally said, when you came into hospital in June, what was going on in your life? I need to know what was happening to you. And I said, oh, well, I think this, and this. And she said, okay, that makes sense. All right. And then, when you were back in October, what had happened to you prior to you being admitted into hospital? And she literally walked me through the 4 times I'd been into hospital, and indirectly showed me that every time something major had happened in my life, and subconsciously, I didn't want to have to deal with things. So I ended up in hospital where people dealt with things for me. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody. But I looked at her and I said, wow, I didn't realize that, but I can see a pattern. And she said, okay, well, as long as you can see the pattern, we're good. So that was why I asked Laura, not that I thought she was intentionally self-harming, but was there a subconscious possibility of it? And she said, absolutely not. So now my question is this. She now has a situation where both the nurse and the doctor have a question mark about whether she is self-harming, whether she is causing herself to be injured in some way. So what do you think she should do? Can we have some options for her? All right, so Beth says, I would have loved to diffuse the situation and corrected him. Yes, I am using the cushion, and no, I don't. I know it will make it'll make me worse if I don't use it. I would have been assertive and straight to the point. She knows what she's doing is right, and what they think doesn't matter. Yes, that was basically my comment back as well. But all right, so do you all understand that? So, but now she's already left the doctor, and the doctor already has a question mark. And when do you go back to the doctor, Lauren? Because part of me wonders whether there is any value when you on Friday. Okay. Part of me wonders, and just this is one suggestion, and I'm certain we'll come up with different ones, but I'm wondering if there's any value to you rolling in there literally next Friday and going, something, doc, whatever you call your doctor, you came in a pretty accusatory manner last time about the cushion issue, and I understand why. And I've spent this week really going through as fast as and as clearly as I can whether or not there is even a shred of truth in what you believe that I am self-harming. And I have to tell you, I have not only thought about it at great length, but I've also discussed it at great length. And I have to tell you that the answer is no. It has not ever been my intent. And therefore, I need you to understand that this is not true. I understand why you thought it might be, but it is not true. And I will continue to do everything I can to take the right steps to help my leg. And if that means I've got to go back for bed rest at home again, I understand that. But no, I definitely did not do this intentionally at any conscious or subconscious level that I can work out. And I assure you, I have spent a lot of time working on this question. I think what it would show the doctor, Lauren, is that you did think about it. And I think that's important. So, does anybody else have any input as to what Lauren might be able to do? And I agree with Beth that, if you could relive the moment, which you can't, but there'll be another moment like it. The thing is to go literally, just start laughing and going, yeah, I can understand why you might think that. It's not true. But I can understand why you might think that. All right. So Beth, who's spent a lot of time with doctors as well, said doctors need to know that what you say matters. How he treats you and speaks to you matters. And it matters with your motivation to succeed. Yes, Beth, I want to tell you there have been a few times in my life where my doctor, didn't take me seriously. I think I've been suffering from a high level of, the diabetes problem for about 2 years now. But, who's going to believe me when I say I'm not feeling right? you know. All right. So Jodi also says, I agree 100%. Was going to suggest bringing up the subject directly with the doctor. Yes. Transparency is the key. Well done, Becca. Quite agree. All right. That you need to be aware that he has every right to think that, but it may not be true. And you need to prove, you need to make sure he knows it's not true. Whether he believes you or not is not up to you. Because, your behavior will tell him whether he was right or wrong. And just say, it was so unfortunate. This is what happened at the time. I know the nurse saw what she saw. And, if I had been her, show compassion. If I had been her, I probably would have thought the same thing, but it wasn't the truth. The truth was I was in the middle of transferring when she came in. And that's why the cushion was on the bed and not on my wheelchair. And I was just in the process of being about to put it back. Right. And Beth is saying it's out of your control. Just speak your mind and let go and keep doing what you're doing. Exactly. So, and keep it light if you can, Lauren. Just go, I gave it a great deal of thought. I have to tell you, I thought about it consciously. I even wondered, was it happening subconsciously? I have spent the week thinking about this and looking at it and discussing it with various people. And I am here to tell you this was not true. I did not self-harm, either consciously or subconsciously. And I can't convince you of that. I can just tell you that is the truth. And so I just needed to make that point before we say anything else. Does that sound like something you could do, Lauren? Something along those lines? But make sure you have compassion for the nurse that reported you. And literally laugh and go, I kept thinking about what she saw. And this is what I think. Subconsciously self-harm. When I say subconsciously self-harm, it's like that you subconsciously are doing it intentionally. And so, to me, Beth, would you say at some level you were subconsciously self-harming yourself with your eating disorder? You didn't realize you were doing it. Because your mind, kept giving you the information that, yes, you see, Beth, you can see that now, right? And so There are an awful lot of different ways. Has anybody else ever been through that? I Yes, good one, Becca. You weren't presently aware of the consequences of your choice. If you like, Becca, and I can give you this one, I've spoken to a lot of people about why did I keep smoking for so long when I knew it was so bad for me? Well, there were quite a few reasons, but one of them was smoking was a really useful way to get people to move away from me. You know, um, it's, because I smoked, people would take their distance. And I realized at some deep level, smoking was my way of creating a boundary because not too many people wanted to get too close to a smoker. And so, in a way, it sort of suited me. Yes. Now listen to what Beth says. Beth, I really appreciate your honesty on this because I believe it will help a lot of people. She said, all I know that starving myself kept me safe, alone, and secluded. And that's what I needed at the time. I agree with you. I totally agree with you, Beth. Right? I believe at some level that's what smoking did for me. It kept a small group of people around me, not a big one. And it was stupid for somebody who spent their life talking to thousands of people. Go figure that one. So I think there are ways that we subconsciously sabotage ourselves. And that's why it was really difficult for me to let go of the smoking because, in a way, it was one of my protection mechanisms. And I had to learn how to protect myself without that to be able to succeed in not smoking. How many of you feel that maybe things like eating in a way is a self-sabotage, eating too much, that is, or in Beth's case, not eating enough? You see, when you look at it, you can sort of see that, wow, yeah, maybe this is some sort of self-sabotage that I do. And it doesn't make you a bad person. It just is how you're coping. And I think we all develop coping mechanisms of one sort or another. And I'm not here to tell you don't cope. That's not what I'm saying. Just be aware of what you do. So, Lauren, you are in a very different place from that you were in a year ago. And I really believe that you can really straighten your back and hold up your chins and look the doctor in the eye and go, you know something? I totally understand why you asked me the question. But this is what I've been doing this week, and this is my answer. I wanted to go away and think about it. I didn't answer you at the time because I didn't want to say something I would regret. Because I felt pretty emotionally charged by it, but I have given it a great deal of thought, and this is what I believe. Okay, let me just read. All right, so Becca's saying, I feel like we keep doing stuff that we know is bad. The reason why we do it is to get the perspective of the lesser evil, given the hard circumstances we might be facing. Yeah, that is sometimes the case, all right? That's what a coping mechanism, I think, is. Beth's saying it swings both ways, not eating or eating too much. Yes, I swing both ways. I am like being bigger and stronger, but I still miss seeing my bones stick out. It was comforting in a way. That is something that I have difficulty understanding. That felt good. But I am certain that the day that I can actually see my collarbone start to stick out, but Beth, I will think of you and go, look at that. Yeah, I can wish for that, right? By the way, I just want to confirm that I am back to a 5 pound loss. You guys, that I lost the 5 pounds in the month, and then I put 3 back when I went away that week, even though I tried so hard not to. But now I've taken those 3 pounds off again, so we're back at 5 pounds. So, can you all relate to this situation? Can you relate to Jodi's story about how she wouldn't change her thinking for herself, but she would change her thinking for her dog. I thought that was magical. And I think that happens a lot in life. I didn't give up smoking for me. I gave up smoking because of Juliana. All right. And thanks, Jodi, for the congrats on the 5 pound loss. Um, so I understand that sometimes we will do things for other people, and indirectly, of course, we're doing it for ourselves, but we actually, the motivation part comes from something outside ourselves, because if we ourselves were motivated to do it, we would have done it. I needed that little bit more. I wanted to quit smoking, but I wanted a really good reason to do it. And I found it. Juliana and a new house. And I will be forever grateful 6 years later that it happened. And an awful lot of money later. So now then, are you all sort of in the mindset now of the case study thing? I'm now gonna give you something that happened to me this week, and I want to see whether you can take it out of emotion and into rational. What if I told you that the market here in my neighborhood is dropping and that the value of my house has dropped this week or this month significantly? What is your emotional response? No response. Oh, Jodi had a pang of fear. Thank you for that honesty. Fear of what? Okay, because we know fear is an emotion. Love and fear are the emotions. So that's interesting. So you had a fear reaction. Okay. Anybody else get a different one? Okay. Beth got upset. In what way, Beth? But she's saying, but I think it'll go back up in a few months. The house market gets better in the summertime. She's optimistic. All right. So you actually had a moment of being negative and then went to the positive of it. Okay. Thank you, Beth. Anybody else have a reaction? It's really important because I want you all to see that different people will have a different reaction. All right. So the thought came into my emotional side. How many of you can understand my initial thought was, oh, yikes. All right. Becca, this is a chart we've been working on for some time. Every thought we have goes through our emotional brain before we get into the rational brain. All right. So what keeps us stuck is we stay in emotion instead of getting out of emotion and going into rational. That's the chart. So any emotion, fear, sort of stuff is emotional stuff. All right. So here's Jodi's thing, right? I want you to get as much money as possible for your house when you sell, and that equates to security for some reason in your mind. All right. Excellent. Now, what you haven't asked me is, what did I think? All right, Beth's saying you can control the market. Oh, you can't control the market, but you can control how you deal with it. Yes, but there was a bit more to the story, Beth. So do you guys want to know what my thinking was? When I saw the figures, and by the way, it wasn't a little amount of money. It was probably down about 10,000. So my first reaction was the same as Jodi's, which was a pang of fear. I've waited too long, da 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 da. And then I went, wait a minute, right? Wait 1 minute. Let me check. What is happening to the sort of property I'm thinking of buying? And the good news is it is dropping at a far greater rate. So you understand that this is only losing money if it's only going down on my property, not on everybody else's property. The truth is that my property is holding its value better than the sort of thing I'm thinking of buying by a long way. The only difference is that my bigger amount of money, all right, means that it lost quite a bit. So can you see that I was able to go from, oh, short word, to, oh, well, if the market's going down, then not all properties are going down. This is the interesting thing, Beth. But funny enough, my property, because it has a rentable suite in it, is going down far less quickly than anything else. Because, rentable properties in Vancouver are like hen's teeth. So, and by the way, for an investor, this is a wonderful house. It has 2 rentable properties. Yeah, one up, one down. So can you see that's how I changed my thinking? The other thing is this. I want you all to think about this practically. It's can you see, if I said to you it's only money, that it's like it's only money. I know what I bought this place for, and I've made a huge return on my investment, and I'm quite happy with it. So, I look at it and go, what I did was a very good investment, and it should bring me back, a very large sum of money, even with the market dropping. I still made a huge profit, Beth. Not a little one. I've made a huge profit. So you understand that I'm not emotionally attached to the 10,000 because it's not 10,000. It is how much is the other property type stuff dropping for, and what's the difference between those two? And so, I look at it in a very pragmatic way. By the way, if I bought it at X and I have made, amount of profit out of it, it just means I get a little less. So to me, I refuse to get emotionally caught up into that. How many of you can imagine I could be crying my heart out? All right? I could be absolutely crying my heart out. And I choose not to do that. I don't think it's relevant. Nana, you're asking, what am I thinking of buying? I actually won't really know until I see it, but I'm probably moving towards, yes, mine actually has gone up in value. Mine actually has gone up in value, but I'm looking at what the bank has it ranked at and what the market is doing. So I think the reality is that mine's gone up in value 11% over the year, but I'm looking at what is the worst case scenario, and in that case, that value is different. So I quite agree. But you're basing it on your assessment, Nana. On what are you basing it that yours has gone up? Because on my assessment, it jumped dramatically. I think it jumped 11% on my assessment. So I'm trying to work out on what are you saying that the value has gone up? Have you sold it? Because I don't think we really know what the property is worth until we sell it, right? It's like we can think we know what a good price is for it, but we won't know until we actually get the sale, what it's worth on the market the day that we do that. So I look at it and go, there is absolutely, I'm just not going to play that game with myself. I'm not going to put myself through that sort of stress. You asked, what am I going to buy? My sense is I will probably get an apartment, although I don't want one. Or I will go back to maybe getting a mobile home, not a fifth wheel, but a mobile home. And I'm not sure. I think that the apartment is a better buy in this environment. That is what I'm busy sort of looking at. I will know it when I see it. If I can find an apartment I can afford that's big enough for me, then that is what I will do. When I say big enough for me, I need enough room to throw paint around. That would be my ideal situation. So, can you see that changing my thinking changes the way I feel? Exactly, Beth, right? Beth is saying the housing market decreased when I sold my house, but it was paid for and I only paid 50,000, right, 26 years ago. So I didn't care at all. I still made a big profit. And that's the way I look at it as well, Beth. I am very grateful for the equity I have in here because it's huge. So, I'm quite happy, little camper. I'm not going to sweat the small stuff. It would need to have a devastating drop in the market. I mean, literally devastating for it to really hurt the way I feel. And I don't believe that's going to happen. We're having a correction, and that is, and it may not affect my house, as I said, that, we won't know until it actually goes on the market and we see if it sells. So I would like you all to see that just a change in our thinking can change everything. How many of you could see that, your initial reaction to all sorts of things is just, that's all it is, a moment. And like we were saying about Jodi, what you do on the inhale is one thing, what you do on the exhale is another. And so, I found it really interesting that Lauren, when she got that attack mode from her doctor, decided not to talk back to the doctor for fear of what she might say. And I think, Lauren, that was very clever. Because I think you're right. You could have said something that really, you did regret later. And so the fact that you took some time to think it through and get to the right place, I think is very smart, quite honestly. Well done. Jodi, I think the fact that you had that much compassion for your dog, can change your life in many, many ways. Imagine if you hadn't felt that way about Taylor. You would not have found out through your own experience that you could control that reaction. Yes, that's really lovely to hear. Lauren saying that she respects her doctor too much to do that to him. Well, I've had the same thing with my doctor, where I've realized that I don't think he's thought it all the way through. And I literally said, let me ask you this a different way. If somebody other than me came in with these symptoms, what else would you be checking for? Well, Becca, thank you very much indeed. That is most kind of you. And I appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. I cannot tell you how much that means to me. And something, Becca, I really do see you on the road to a very different life. And I don't want you to change at all. And if you would like to tell us now about your meeting with Jenny Jen Jen, for those of you who don't know who Jenny Jen Jen is, she is one of our original viewers, as is Becca. And they met up, when was it, about 6 years ago, Becca? I would think 5 or 6 years ago anyway. And then they've just met up again. And I'm hoping it was a wonderful experience. So type away and I will get back to your typing. I'm just going to go ahead and just start some of the quotes now. just so that we can give you time to type up what's happening in your life. And Jenny Jen's. And I know it's her birthday today, so we wish her a very, very happy birthday. I hope you saw that. Oh, for a terrible moment, I thought I'd cut myself off the broadcast. That would have been very nasty. Yeah, imagine if I did that. Yeah, I did it once, right? All right, so here we go. A change in thought can change a lot. A change thought can you untie and untangle the knot. So a change in thought can change a lot. A change in thought can untie and untangle the knot. Jodi, did you feel that your change of thinking, helped you untangle that thing? Let me just read what people have said here. Oh, your dad came along as well. That's interesting. Beth saying she went into attack mode when baby Lily got a head injury from, yeah, that was really sad. I don't want to explain that too much because that I think people will rush to judgment there. Well, Becca, I'm delighted to hear that it was just like you picked up from the last time immediately. That's how it should have been for you, and I'm delighted for that. Yes, and Beth, that is great to hear that he learned something from that as well. And I am pretty sure that you had the compassion to let him know that you knew that wasn't an intent. And I wonder whether you gave him a story about where you did something with Victoria when she was a baby, because I think we've all got those stories. Oh, you hugged him. Well done. That's something that's showing great compassion, and that requires an incredible amount of self-control, because your instant reaction, I'm sure, was not that. So that means that you really got emotionally intelligent in that moment. So Becca's saying that she and Jenny Jen are now actually quite close in location. She is less than an hour from you. So we're already planning on meeting up again in the spring. Isn't that wonderful? Did you exchange milk again? What, wasn't it you, Becca, that took milk to her the first time? I always think that's such a lovely story. Oh, that was Jess. That's right. Sorry. Yeah, that was Jess. Yeah, I always remember that time. And for those of you going, what? She took milk? Yeah. Jenny Jen had never had raw milk. And Jessica, if those of you remember Jess took some raw milk for her to try. Yeah. All right. So Beth's saying, yeah, she actually told her son-in-law that she almost strangled her daughter with a cord from the window blinds. Yes. And I didn't know not to put the crib next to the window. Yeah, I think we've all done that. One of my favorite ones, Beth, was some friends of mine very foolishly asked me to babysit for them. And I went, "Are you joking? I know nothing about babies." And they said, "Yeah, no, Sal, you'll be fine." And I always remember trying to change a diaper. And the and the baby was probably, about a year and a half, old enough to talk and smart as a wagon load of monkeys. And I'm in the middle of changing the diaper when the toddler said to me, "Mommy normally does this when I'm lying down." And I went, "What?" And she said, "Change my diaper when I'm lying down. It's easier." Hi, Joanna. And I went, "That's a good point. Let me try that." Well, that's great, Becca. So if if you like to send it to me, I'll put it up on the Dear Mama Sal page, because I'm certain there'll be people that would love to see that. And happy Friday to you, Joanna, as well. We are busy talking all sorts of stuff. But basically, we're talking about changing our thinking, how changing our thinking can change our whole mood. So I've got a quote here that says, if your life isn't where you want it to be, then you need to change your thinking so your life can be where you want it to be in future. Well, Becca, only send it if you'd like me to share it with the viewers, because, I noticed that Farmer, notices a lot of the stuff, and people that you really don't realize do actually follow up. I was amazed today at lunchtime, Becca, where Linda was telling me that if you can believe this one, people, her son got a promotion indirectly because of the fact he knew me. I'm not quite sure how this went down, but somehow another, the people giving him the promotion apparently are viewers that I don't know who they are, but they are apparently viewers. And when they heard Linda's son talk about me, which he must have done, they went, "Oh, we follow her," and gave him an extra point or something. And he now has this promotion. And so, it was just like, really? Isn't that awesome? You never know who's watching, right? And what you believe affects everything. And when you change what you believe about yourself, everything changes. How many of you understand that? That what you believe affects everything. What if I believed that, that's a disaster now, my house just went down in value or didn't, I don't know. It can change my life. I don't want it to. I choose not to have that affect me. It's just money. It's not the end of my world. It's like I don't want diabetes to affect me in a negative way. I just need to get control back. It's quite simple. I don't know, and you guys will probably be able to tell me. I don't know if diabetes actually is reversible. I believe that it is, but I don't know if it is going to be. I'm just going to keep doing the best I can to do the right things. And I would prefer not to take medication if I can. And how about, instead of spending time complaining about your life, use your energy on changing your life? Do you understand that? Instead of complaining about things, do good things in your life. Somebody asked me at lunchtime today, is it a good idea to plan things? And I was actually, I was sort of like, really? Is it a good idea to have goals? Yeah, I think so. And so, I look at it and go, if we don't have, what I said was, if you are not aiming for something, you're aiming for nothing. And there is a quote that said, life has a tendency to provide a person with what they need in order to grow. How many of you have noticed that, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear type stuff, right? Our beliefs, what we value in life, provide the roadmap for the type of life we experience. A period of personal unhappiness reveals that our values are misplaced and we are on the wrong path. Unless a person changes their values and ideas, they will continue to experience discontentment. This says, if you're unhappy, do something about it. Change your thinking. Be grateful. See the good in the world. How many of you understand the law of attraction? I often thought that I should do a series of broadcasts about the law of attraction. All right, Beth's saying, I don't write down my goals. There are too many, and they change as I change. Yes, there's nothing to say that you can't adjust them during the year. I I want to tell you, I've had a number of goals that I've continued over the years, and it was so funny. One of them, Beth, was that I wanted to go to Cancun. I've never been to Mexico, and for some reason, I heard that Cancun was the place to go, and I went. I've never been to Cancun, and I had it on my bucket list for the longest time. And then a client of mine, Beth, booked me to do a working cruise. In other words, they invited me onto this cruise that they were taking their staff on, as long as I would talk a couple of times during the time of the cruise. And I said, sure, I'll do that. So I got this incredible cruise and got paid. And guess what? One of the stops was Cancun, and I got off the the boat and I stood on Cancun land, and I went, okay, I've been to Cancun now. Wasn't the way I thought I was going, but I've been to Cancun. The ego might resist change until a person's level of discomfort becomes unbearable. A person can employ logic to overcome the ego's defense mechanism and intentionally integrate needed revisions in a person's obsolete and ineffective beliefs and behavior patterns. The subtle sense that something is amiss in a person's life can lead to a gradual or quick alteration in a person's conscious thoughts and outlook on life. Resisting change can prolong unhappiness, whereas implementing change can establish eternal harmony and instate joy in a person's life. How many of you have found that out? How many of you found out that really sometimes it's as simple as I don't need the world to change, I need to change? Have any of you ever been in that space? You know, when we can sit and mutter and grunt for as long as we like, but you know, the world is not going to change to suit us. We actually need to adapt to what's going on in the world. How many of you, have heard people of my age say, well, in my day, da 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 da. And I spend a lot of time today talking to people of my age when I listen to them talk about the young people, and they're going, well, how are they ever going to learn anything? They do nothing but have their heads in computers and they know nothing. And I said, yeah, by the way, how quickly can they assimilate information? What? How quickly do they assimilate information? I said, compared to your generation. And they're going, it's our generation. I said, yeah. But seriously, how quickly do young people today take in information? Hi, Nyasha, welcome. And the answer is far more quickly than I believe we did in my generation. The speed at which young people can take in information is scary in some ways. And so part of what I'm trying to help older people with now is, do you understand it's not that they are, sitting with their heads in the computer without reason. They are assimilating information at a rate that you don't understand. I believe that the generation to come will be the most educated generation of our time. Yes, exactly, Beth. Young people have more resources at their fingertips than we had. In my day, the only way you could get information was to read the Encyclopedia Britannica, which was totally out of date by the time it got printed anyway. Today, the amount of information that gets changed is so instant. Oh, Jodi's saying that was so me, mad at the world because I was ill. And then I changed my thinking and adapted my world because I realized the world wasn't going to adapt for me. I needed to choose to change my thinking. And so, I look at it, Jodi, and I ask you, what difference has it made to your happiness that you were able to do that? All right. What difference has it made to your life that you were able to see that the person who needed to change was you, that the rest of the world wasn't necessarily going to adapt. All right. Nyasha, I keep looking at what you're doing with your steps, be it on your elliptical or whatever. What I ask myself, a couple of times a week, how's Nyasha doing? And the way I find out is I go and check my virtual mission to see if you've put any steps on. Because I can tell if your mind is in the right place, if you're still putting steps on. Well done, Nyasha. I'm proud of you. Jodi, same thing with you. It's like you're doing an awesome job. I saw that with all that's going on in Lauren's life, she also was putting in some time in terms of doing that. Yes, Kimmy, same here. You're working on changing yourself, right? Because you found out that waiting for the world to change wasn't working for you, you know? Kimmy, I love you to bits for that. Yeah, and Jodi's saying my entire being has changed. I'm so much more complete. I'm happy even though I'm still ill and even more so than I was, but I choose joy. Yes. And I think that that is the secret to happiness, is just to turn that around. But that takes a little bit of learning. Nyasha, I am noticing you're taking giant steps in the right direction. All right. And yes, I choose joy is a wonderful mantra, right? I can choose to be unhappy or I can choose to be happy. I know it's not every day, Nyasha. I don't expect you to do it every day. Kimmy, my virtual mission is something that a group of us have logged into, and I'll gladly share that information with you, Kimmy, where we're doing a virtual walk wherever we want to. Let me think what's happening. I'm virtually walking from White Rock Pier all the way to Calgary. It's about a 3-year trip. Jodi is arm rolling her way across New Hampshire to the ocean. Lauren is busy wheeling her way down Tasmania. Who else is on there? Marie is doing it as well, and somebody else. Oh, Nyasha is busy with her elliptical, walking around Trinidad. So it's fascinating because you get to see everybody's map. So, it's like, if you're interested in doing something, I wanted to make exercise a bit more fun. Now, I haven't been out. I will explain to you how to do it if you write to me. I will send you the link and help you get started if you would like to do that. I wanted something that would encourage me to keep the steps up that I need to do, Kimmy. Now, I'm down a bit on my steps this week because of the snow. Vancouver has come to a grinding halt. We had, Nana, I don't know how much snow you had, but we had like 14 inches here. It was like, really? That is insane. And, Vancouver comes to a stop at 6 inches, and we had twice as much as that, and then some. So I'm hoping we're done now. And I just decided, I'm not even going to go out in it because I know it's going to be nothing but trouble. It's snowing again. Yeah, I think it might be snowing again here, but no, not yet. Wow, that's interesting. So Becca's saying, and that Jen and you were talking about someday making a trip to BC or to Vancouver and stopping by to say hello. Well, I want to tell you something. Hi there, Carrie. I want to tell you that the couple of days I got to spend with Manon were priceless. I was just so happy to meet her, and I was really pleased. In what way has she burnt herself because depending on how serious it is, Nana. So this is a quote as well about this, which is, I believed I was too sensitive and weak. To prove I wasn't a victim anymore, I moved closer to painful experiences rather than away from them. Remaining in harm's way and exposing myself to more pain kept me in victim role rather than moving out of it. And I thought that was interesting. For those of us who have been in victim, we can probably relate to that. I'm just waiting to hear from Nana in what way Ali burnt herself, because we can't give input unless we know whether this is something that should be phoning the fire department on, or whether it's a minor burn. Yes, Nana, and did you hear what I asked you? We want to know what level of burn. Did I miss the answer to that? What level of burn it was? I came back to you immediately, Nana, and asked you in what way did she burn herself? Is this a minor burn or a major burn? Because we can't advise you unless we know what level of burn it is. I did say that immediately, Nana. So whatever you believe is true, even if it isn't. Can you guys appreciate that? Whatever you want to believe is true will remain true until you prove to yourself that it isn't. Your beliefs can be a prison system created by your mind for yourself, but the door is not locked. If you are aware, you can always come out of that. And that is the issue, is do you want to come out of it? Yeah. Your beliefs can be a prison system created by your mind for yourself, but the door is not locked. If you are aware, you can always come out of it. Boiling water on her stomach? Okay, I probably would be phoning the online nurse, because that is a nasty place to burn yourself, and that I would. What is the number for that, Nana? 411, I think. To get I think that need requires or phone the local fire department and speak to their paramedic. I don't know how much boiling water she spilled. Exactly. So she probably needs to go and have it attended to professionally, would be my sense. But as you don't normally listen to me, Nana, I'm scared to even say that. But to me, if she's burnt herself badly enough that it's peeling already, that is a third-degree burn, and a third-degree burn needs to be attended to by a professional. So I'd be going to emergency, or yeah, Beth agrees with me. Yeah, it's a third degree. If it's peeled already, that's a third-degree burn, and that needs professional attention. She needs to talk. Ali's not with you, is she? Ali's with her mom. Yeah, I'd definitely. I'd be phoning the online nurse to find out what a nurse thinks that she should do, and then whatever that is, I would do that, and then take her to the hospital, or get, if she hasn't got anybody close to her, then get a cab and go to the hospital and get treated. Ali is Nana's granddaughter. Yes, now hang on a second, because Jodi's saying I'm confused why she didn't seek help immediately. You don't know that isn't true. Maybe she immediately called for Nana. We don't know that's not true. So also, it's a judgment that is important, that you don't. She doesn't need that now. It's not important why she didn't. Deal with what she can do, not what she can't do. You have no idea of what number, Nana? No, tomorrow is too late. She needs to go today, would be my advice. And I really would ask you to speak to the online nurse. Let me get what that is. Hang on a second. Let me just find that for you. I think it's 411, but I could be wrong. All right, 811, Nana. 811, the registered nurses hotline. 811. Yeah, it is 811. Thanks, Isabel. I just looked it up. Thank you for that information. So I would phone. She lives on her own with a boyfriend. Then get the boyfriend to put her in the car and take her to emergency. And to phone 811 first to find out what she should do, how she should cover it or not cover it. Sometimes covering it with the wrong thing can do more harm, which is why I'm recommending that you call the online nurse first, because they will tell you what to do, or tell her what to do. Well, we've been talking about it for 5 minutes, so sort of, off and on. So, every minute counts here. She was on the phone with me when it happened, really. How did she drop boiling water on her while she was talking to you? Doesn't really matter. It happened. All right. So, boiling water, that to me, that's like a saucepan. And again, how much, how much did she drop on her? Was it a small amount or a large amount? But explain it all to the nurse. Okay. The only point I'm making, Nana, is a 3rd-degree burn you don't mess with. You get some professional help, because it could scar her for life if it isn't treated properly. And I wouldn't want to. You tell Ali from me when you get to talk to her that I wouldn't want her to be in that agony all night long waiting for tomorrow. I would like her to get some help right now. Thank you. It's like, who would want to? That is excruciating pain if she's got a 3rd-degree burn. I've had them. So, she needs to get some medical attention here. She deserves it. Get the boyfriend to stick her in a car and get her some help. Again, I would talk to the nurse about whether she should be lying down in the car or sitting up, depending on how bad that burn is. It will be important. Then, all right, if he works at a hospital, he has the ability to get her help. That's amazing that he works at the hospital. So trust that he is not stupid. All right. And if necessary, as I said, Ali's smart kid. She's a smart one. And so get her to talk to the nurse, for the nurse to tell her how to cover it. And if necessary, get in a cab and get to the hospital. If the husband can't, the boyfriend can't get to her, then and nobody else is there that can transport her, get her to professional help. And Nana, I understand how terrifying that must be for you, and Rick as well. So she was emptying the dishwasher, talking to you, and making mac and cheese. Well, where did the boiling water come from? The macaroni? Well, I want to, it's quite simple, Nana. If her skin is peeling, that's a 3rd-degree burn, and the answer is get, she needs to have it properly looked after. A 3rd-degree burn is serious. It's not a minor. So the answer is yes. And if she doesn't believe it, to phone 811 and speak to the nurse. The fact that it's peeled already is a 3rd-degree burn. The fact that now it is very high, as Jodi tried to tell you, that increases her risk of infection dramatically. When a burn blisters, it holds the skin, it keeps it, gives it a covering so it doesn't get infected. If she has had a burn bad enough that it has peeled already, then it's prone to infection, and she needs to get that properly looked after with the right medication and everything. Anyway, you and Rick are intelligent people. I'm sure that you will advise her accordingly. Yeah, I can't say that enough. You would never forgive yourself if that got infected and she ended up, scarred for life because of it. I don't think any of us would want that for you or for her. Absolutely, Beth. You've obviously had a bad burn as well. Burns can continue to burn through more layers of skin and do more damage over time. All right. So the fact that that's all you can see. I had a burn once that went all the way down to the bone. Literally, I could see the bone. So I know about 3rd-degree burns. Right. Jodi has had a hot oil from a fryer explode all over you. Wow, I had 3rd-degree burns. It was so painful. I had to be in 3 different meds for 2 weeks. Okay. Yeah, you know something, Jodi, mine was so bad that I actually didn't feel the pain for the longest time. Yeah, I assure you, Becca, that I was pretty shocked as well. I went, what am I looking at there? Is that my bone? And luckily I was in LA, and luckily they rushed me to the burn center, and I had the top guys that had come out of Vietnam dealing with it. It was amazing. Has she phoned the nurse before she phones the boyfriend? Yeah, so that's why I know not to mess with a third-degree burn, because I learned a lot that day from the experts, and they said to me, "Thank goodness you came immediately, because we can actually save your hand." I didn't believe that they could, and that's my hand, and that is where I literally was missing that part of my hand after the burn. Um, and they did such a great job, and I don't have any scar that you can see, I'm sure. There is a tiny little scar, but when it's treated properly, Nana, they can save the skin. Makes sense. The difference, I should have a monumental burn, a scar about this big on my hand, and because I had it treated immediately by the professionals, I don't. Yeah, and that's why I'm saying I wouldn't wish that pain on Ali at all. The skin continues to hold the heat, yeah, and it'll get worse. Whoa, that's horrible. Beth said she fell over a kerosene heater once when she was walking through the garage with a bunch of stuff and landed right on top of it with her stomach. Yikes. So the stomach is such a sensitive area as well. It's like your hand. Um, so I've got tears in my eyes thinking about the pain that Ali must be in. So let's breathe for a moment. How many of you are getting emotionally uh, into the pain now? Because I don't wish that for you. So work really hard at understanding this is what's going on, but stay in reality, because this is Ali's being looked after by the sound of it. Right, and Becca, I need you, Becca, listen to me. I'm an empath as well. And as an empath, I have to tell you something. I can choose how much I want to stress myself out. Jodi is an empath. All right. So this is like, Becca, choose not to go too deep with it. All right. This is our choice as to how deep we want to feel this pain. And I pray for you that you just take control. Yeah. Stay in the present. Count. Becca, count to me. Just type, start counting to me, Becca. Let's get into the present. Don't go into the other land, all right? Literally, Becca, start counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and type it. I want your mind to be on counting, because it'll take you out of the path you're going down. Good girl. 1. You can do this. 2. Well done. Good night, Nana. Wish them all the best. Well, thank you for sharing, and let us know one way or the other, and I'll put up a note tomorrow for people so that they know. Well done, Becca. You're doing a good job. Breathe while you're doing this, all right? All right, so Erin had a second-degree burn trying to make pudding on the stove. I'm almost right there. So she thought it would be okay, but it hurt so bad. Yeah, I'm sure. An empath is somebody who feels other people's feelings. They are connected in a certain way. I am an empath, and so I've actually trained myself to get some distance now. Well done, Becca. You're doing good. So, Becca, can you feel that just counting helps a little? Yeah, and your mom took you to hospital right away, and that's what needs to happen. You don't mess with a third-degree burn. Becca, I'm very proud of you for doing this. Well done. And when you get to 10, count backwards. You're doing great. Just keep doing it. As long as your mind is trying to work on counting, You're not going deeper and deeper. Good. And now count backwards. By the way, this is a trick for any of you who have anxiety attacks. They say that you cannot continue an anxiety attack if you do this properly. If you concentrate on counting, it will take you out of an anxiety attack. Good stuff, Becca. Keep going. Keep control, Becca. You can do this. I know that you've been doing so well. So, oh, good point, Becca. Thank you. I forgot about that. Yes, you can't send too many at once. So, but you understand the process, Becca. And what I would suggest is when you get back to zero, go up again, but this time in nines or something that requires a little bit of thought. Do you understand what I mean? Going up in ones is easy. Try doing it in sevens or nines. Not as easy. Jodi, how are you doing with the counting? Have you got it under control? Good job, Becca. I'm proud of you. Jodi, how are you doing? You're going by threes. Okay, really, seriously, Jodi. You and backwards by threes is a good idea as well. Attitudes and ignorance about any type of abuse can be passed down through generations. It's important to our healing that we sort out the belief system we adopt. Belief systems that were taught to us, and because they are so full of lies, they lead to all kinds of depressions, addictions, and other struggles while we try to cope with the manifestation of the problems instead of the root of the problems. Yes, you know what I've discovered though, and I really, that's why I said to Becca that I really would encourage her to start reading more about emotional intelligence because I think it would help her dissociate away from this deep feeling of getting sucked into other people's pain. One of the main things that we have, and Jodi, you were doing this a lot when I first met you. You were just an emotional pretzel, and I know that you still feel it, but you're doing so much better. And I know Becca's getting some help with hers, and this is not a fun place to be. And I know because I've been there. And so anybody that is in that space, you have my full attention. And I do want to give you just a tad of hope, Becca, that you can choose to wear the label of an empath and be in pain for a lot of your life, or you can decide I don't want to do it to this level. I still want to feel, I still want to be able to have compassion, but I don't want it destroying my life anymore. You see, I think that is the difference. It's so draining, Jodi, you're right. You know, you don't have enough for yourself, never mind give it to everybody else. And here's a quote that I found interesting. When using the law of attraction to manifest one's desired reality, it is not simply enough to shift one's conscious thoughts, for it is actually our beliefs that attract the reality. Our thoughts are of our conscious mind, while our beliefs rest with our subconscious mind. The conscious mind acts as the objective observer and receiver of information, while the subconscious mind acts as storage and a subjective projector of reality. You see, if you shift a belief, you shift your reality. If Becca continues to believe that the reason that she has to be in pain is because she's an empath, then she will stay in pain. I'm saying, Beck, do yourself a big favor, work towards still having empathy, but not having pain. Absolutely, Becca. Thank you for that honesty. Becca's saying if she even gets the slightest negative vibe from a customer, she feels instantly horrible. All right. You just haven't built that barrier yet, Becca, but I know you're working on it. So keep working on it. It will take time, but you will get there if you keep working on it. Kimmy's saying, I feel pain when I'm watching something bad happen. Yeah. How many of you, we were talking about this last week, right, Kimmy, that, if you react to weddings or funerals the same way, right, it's the same stress. It's not, to me, it's like, yes, Jodi's got the nail on the head there. She said you can turn that pain into still having compassion, but with boundaries on it so it doesn't cause you pain. You can still have compassion, but you don't have to have the pain. You see, again, Becca, the pain comes from staying in the emotion of it, not being able to get out of the emotion into the rational. And I think it's really sad that we put these labels on that people buy into. Oh, well, I'm an empath, so that's why I hurt. No, you hurt because you haven't quite learned yet how to get out of the emotion. As soon as you learn how to get out of the emotion, it won't hurt as much. And then it won't hurt. That is, I want to give you that hope. That, just keep doing the learning, Becca. Just keep getting the help. You will learn this. And the more, don't stop learning about it. Keep, it's taken, Becca, it sounds really simple, but, I know for a fact that's not as simple as it sounds, but that's why I'm doing a whole year of trying to teach people this. Because I really realized when I sat down and looked, Becca, what are the most common things that people ask me about? When I get the emails, most of them are about anxiety, most of them are about how do I stop caring this much? When I looked at it, it was all emotional intelligence stuff. And that is why I've decided I'm going to take the whole year, and I don't want to do anything but help people in little bits every week just understand this a lot better, because I really believe that everybody that is here is quite a smart cookie. And if they can understand it, if I can somehow or other, put up the graphic and make you realize that every thought you have has to go through your emotional part of your brain before it gets to the rational. Yes, Isabel, you can see that, right? That you get stuck in emotion. When you get stuck in emotion, it's extremely painful. And so is losing your pen. What did I do with my pen, people? That's not the right one. Did I put it back? No. Okay. What did I do with it? Becca, you stole it. Okay, let's get another one. You know something? Seriously, where can that pen have gone? And so is losing a pen. Yeah. All right, so if you get stuck here, Isabel, can you see that? You see, your thought gets to here. If you stay here, you're going to stay going around in circles. How many of you felt that one? You're just sort of going, and you're getting, it just drains you, as Jodi said. What I'm trying to do is to ask you, what do you need to let go of so you can move out of there and into rational? What is it you have to let go of? Now, Becca, I'm not sure whether you can. Oh, I found the pen. It was wrapped up. Why didn't you tell me that, people? Because you didn't. Okay, it's staying there. Becca, anyway, what would you need to let go of to not feel the pain? All right? To not get sucked in deeper and deeper into the empathy. What would you need to let go of? So Kimmy's saying, I don't get emotional. If I saw someone smash their finger, oh, Jodi's throwing up right now. Okay, right. If I saw somebody smash their finger, I can feel the pain. Is that the same? That's an empath. How many of you just hearing that went, oh no, that's you can feel the pain. So this is an emotional response. But understand we all do it, Kim. We all have to go through the emotion to get to, well, I don't have to feel the pain because it's not my pain. It's I don't let me put it this way. Uh, okay, so you actually did that when you were small, Becca, and so you had a little flashback. Yeah. Do you want to stay there? Or do you want to move out of the flashback and move into the present? You see, if you stay in the past, you will get sucked into it. Niesh is saying, but Mama Sal, won't others view us as mean if we're not staying in emotion for a long time? I ask because I'm a victim of this. How do I not feel guilty because I do? It's like I'm at fault. Okay, so let me ask you something, Niasha. Do you think that I care? I care about losing my pen, that's for sure. Okay, so Becca's answering, she would need to let go of, she would need to have some level of distancing from the actual situation. What would you need to let go of? Uh, Anybody want to have some input? We heard a horrible story about somebody smashing their hand. What would you need to let go of in order to stay in the present? Nyasha, do you think I have compassion because why? You see, I think that you can care about people without becoming a victim to it. Right, and Becca's saying, Becca, do you want me to repeat that publicly? I just want to check because that's a personal thing. Okay, Becca's saying, for your information, I actually have a scar on my finger to remind me every day. I kind of like it. It's proof that I have lived and experienced pain and survived. Yep. So the point we're getting at is how do you let go of the emotion and get back into reality? What I did was I asked Becca to count. You see, as Becca, I want to give you 10 out of 10, by the way. Do you know why? It's in the shape of a lightning bolt. That's incredible. Mine's in the shape of a 7. Because you didn't run. You know, normally when we get on a difficult subject, Becca, you run, right? And you actually have stayed and carried on the conversation, which tells me that the counting at some level, you wanted to run and leave the computer. But do you understand? If you can count, That means you've got control. Does that make sense, Becca? If you can count, you have got control. And I want you to remember those words because counting requires that you control your brain. And you are such a smart cookie, Becca, in so many ways. Yeah, you see, Nyasha, the whole thing is people have asked me time and time again, how can you deal with such difficult subjects and not be sucked into the emotion of them all? And I say, I have learned to keep a healthy distance. I can feel Nana's um, panic, not even panic, but discomfort about what's happening to Ali. But I need to stay in reality to be able to help her, into my rational thinking to be able to help her. Does that make sense? If I go, oh my God, Nana, I have no idea what to do, that's not going to help Nana. Nana, get on the phone 811 and speak to, get her to speak to the nurse. That's what Nana needs to hear. She doesn't need to hear my emotion around it. Exactly. Jodi is saying, would it also be fair to say that putting a distance between you and the painful situation allows you to see more potential solutions, options, and not be immobilized by the emotion? I want to ask you that if you are in a panic of some sort, do you want somebody that's emotional around you, or do you want somebody that is talking eh, rationally? That's something you got to think about. So when I'm trying to help somebody who's overwhelming, yes, Becca. Becca, may I repeat that? Because that was an incredible act of courage on your part. To this day, I still am so honored to have known that you did that. Okay, here's what Becca said. I actually had to be able to distance myself from the empath tendency as I was calling 911 to save my friend from committing suicide. Well, to be perfectly honest, I've done it a few times. Becca, you know you can do it because you've done it. All right. So Beth is saying exactly like a nurse or a doctor, they have to have that skill to be able to stand outright, to solve the problem, to stay neutral, to do what they can to help you. If they were panicking the same way, they would just be even worse. Becca, the fact you were able to help your friend, it tells me that you can control it when you choose to. And I want you to remember that when you chose to for your friend, you could control it, which means that when you choose to, you can control it for yourself. And that is very hopeful. Hopeful, not helpful, hopeful. I want you to see that you are capable of doing it because you did it for your friend. Now, I want everybody to take a deep breath because, yeah, wow, Becca. Pretty impressive, right? You see, I believe that's just my belief system, Becca. I believe that the same as I was saying, and you probably weren't here for the beginning of the broadcast, that sometimes we can't do it for ourselves, but we can do it for others. And I believe that you have proven to yourself you are capable of controlling your emotion because you've done it for your friend. Now, all you need is that little bit of learning how to hold yourself worthy of it. Does that make any sense, Becca? Definitely you thought that your friend was worth getting control over. Now you just have to convince yourself. It's going to be taken care of. Well done, Nana. Nana, I want to tell you that I'm so happy that it's under control. I was just saying you must have been terrified. I know how much Ali means to you, and I know how much you wanted to help her. And I hope that you will let us know how she's doing, because a lot of people care a great deal about you and a lot of people care a great deal about Ali. So any updates would be very gratefully received, if I can ask that. I don't mean tonight necessarily. Tomorrow's good, you know. Wow. Okay, Becca, I need the 2x4 permission, please. Actually, it's not really even a 2x4. Becca, what you didn't do in the past is because you didn't know how to do it. Good night, Nana. And thank you for asking us, and I hope we were able to help. Becca, what you didn't know, you cannot blame yourself for what you didn't know. Don't do that to yourself. Living in the past is not going to help you one iota. All right? Beating up on yourself about what you didn't know is not going to help you today. I would have done it differently, Becca. All right? So please don't think about the times you let yourself down. You didn't mean to. It wasn't your intent. You didn't wake up in the morning and say, I think I'll just let myself down today. It was because you didn't know how to control that part of you. And you're getting better at it. I know you're getting better at it. I hear it all the time. And I want to send you a big hug, because you're going through hell again in your life in certain ways, and yet you're still here and you're still trying to learn. I think that's pretty impressive, Becca. And tonight I saw you physically take control and start counting and stay counting. That is huge. And you didn't run. You stayed and dealt with it. That takes balls, Becca. And I need you to give yourself a big pat on the back. Now, you can choose to go back and beat up on yourself if that's what you want to do. It will not make you happy, and it wasn't your fault if you didn't know. How else can I explain that to you, honey? What an incredibly cruel thing to do, to beat up on yourself about something you didn't know. You need a big hug. Here you go. And you're not the only one, Becca. I've done it. And I can see now how cruel I was to myself to be thinking I was so stupid, and I wasn't stupid. I just didn't have the coping skill. I was not taught how to cope in that sort of situation. And I am honored that you come and talk to us, Becca. I really am. The same as Nyasha and Jodi and everybody else that comes in. You understand, you help other people understand their stuff just by talking honestly about yours. And so, a big hug for Becca. This is not easy stuff. Jodi, when you reflect back, how well did you manage to keep control during this session? Because this was difficult stuff going on. Nyasha, did you learn anything this evening about keeping control of yourself? Remember, when you start to feel overwhelmed, start counting. If you really want to get control, start counting. And you can do that at any stage. Becca, you do whatever you need to, honey. You know, I am not picking on you or giving you attention other than the fact I think you deserve a round of applause. I really do. And I need you to know that I've seen the difference in you and I see you growing and I see what you're up to and I admire what you're doing. It's not an easy time in your life and it hasn't been for some time. And I admire your courage. Yes, you see, now Jodi's saying not too bad. She did the counting. Sorry. She did the counting, but found herself thinking about the others in the room to see if they were okay. Mother hen. You will always look after others better than you look after yourself. I admire your courage, Becca. Yeah, fact. Yep. Nyasha, and do try it. It actually, do you understand the principle of it, Nyasha? It requires that you are in the present. You're not in the past or the future. Counting requires that you stay in the present. Becca, anybody who is a survivor is courageous, in my view. And you will, in time, come out of survival and into happiness. I so totally believe that. To be a survivor, you have to have courage. I actually thought for a while that you had to be stupid to be a survivor, but I actually found out since then that you actually need courage. I think Nyasha is a very courageous person. So, everybody, isn't it amazing where we start on each broadcast and where life leads us? Right? And Kimmy, good for you for reading up about empaths. And do you understand, everybody, why I think people who are survivors are brave people? Because they have to deal with their demons, whether they want to or not. And that takes courage. And that is why I choose to do this work, um, and not make it all that entertaining. I know what is needed more than anything is for people to talk honestly about what's going on. When you can talk honestly about what's going on, you have then, hi Charles, good to see you, honey. When you can talk honestly, like Beth is doing an incredible job as well as Jodi and everybody else. When you can talk honestly about it, you will start to heal. When you realize that being honest about it doesn't make you look stupid, it makes you look like a very brave person that's dealing with a lot of stuff. And so I look at you all and I am in awe of the way that you're dealing with stuff, the way that you are growing. You come for a non-judgmental support, you'll be lucky, Becca. when I say that because I mean as well as I do that we're just human beings, all right, and we care. And I wish I had the answer. If I could give you the answer in a sentence, I would give it to you. So do a little bit of reading about empaths, but don't, Kimmy, be very careful about the label. Because I don't want you saying, well, it's okay. The reason I do this is because I'm an empath. It keeps you stuck. Do you understand? It will keep you here without getting you through to here. I am hoping that everybody learned something today. Kimmy, do you understand what I mean by that? If you buy into the label too much, it will keep you stuck. My attitude is I am a very compassionate person, but being Overly compassionate will not necessarily help people. Yeah. So what I try to do is to be aware of the need for compassion, but on the other hand, say, excuse me a second, can I use the 2x4 now? Because maybe you don't know what you're saying, in terms of the reality of it. And, I look at how much learning Beth has done. Beth, I'm not joking, Beth. You've heard me say it before. When you first came here, I really doubted that you were for real. I thought you were actually possibly a troll because I couldn't believe that anybody would do as much work as you did in that first couple of weeks that you came on board. Quite honestly, it was just like, this is way, she's doing way too much. She's got to be a troll. And then I found out, no, you're not. You're just an incredible human being. And I am honored to know you as well. And you tell Charles that every time that you bother to stop and look at him and talk to him, that he needs to smile and hear me telling him, give her a round of applause, to reward good behavior. Tell him that it's really good idea for him to say, hey, Beth, thank you for stopping to tell me that. Because if you hear that enough, that I feel loved when you do that. I think if you hear it enough, Beth, it would change. Yes, I don't think that any of us fit into that empath perfectly. It's just that we all have certain of those those markers and not others. So I want to tell you, you all did incredible work considering where we started and where we got to. That was an incredible amount of work. Becca, do you feel that you are in control? Did anybody else get overly triggered? Moderately. Well done, Becca. All right. So if you want to improve on moderately, just remember to go back to counting. Don't go back the slide. Don't go back into being upset. This is quite funny. Kimmy, the YouTube warned me about the fact you were calling me a hoe. Okay, your body is still tense. Right, Becca? So pray. All right, just pray to stay in the present. And breathe. Remember, breathe into your stomach, counting. Breathe in for 5, hold for 5, let out for 5. If you can do that, you will stay in the present. You are in your rational brain to be able to do it. Do you understand the principle, Becca? Good work, honey. You really did great work. And I'm delighted to hear that you and Jenny Gengen are going to meet up again. I think that's really wonderful for you. All right, to all of you who participated this evening, wow. You probably will sleep well. And if you need to debrief, if you feel the need to talk more about it in some way, please write to me at dearmamasal@gmail.com. And, we'll try and process a bit more for those of you who need it. Or I will see you. Niasha, I am so glad that we fixed the problem for you and that you can join us again because you have become, part of the team and it's wonderful. Keep doing the good work, Niasha. Keep doing one same as Becca's doing and Jodi's doing and I'm doing. And I do know that I will probably sleep very well and very long tonight as well because my brain, all two brain cells, worked pretty hard tonight. And I want to tell you that you have every reason to be proud. And that's what touches my soul is that 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 you work so hard at this. That touches my soul. That tells me that there's a reason to be here, and that we can help one another, just gently, one step at a time. Blessings to everybody, as you so rightly say. And this is just us trying to learn from each other and with each other. This is not about anybody being better than anybody else. This is about we're all doing this at our own speed. And I can assure you that I just keep looking for more and more ways to try and make it make more sense. And if it makes any sense at all, I'm happy for you. All right, everybody, a big hug from me. Take it easy. I have no idea how to shorten this one. And I did do that for the one at lunchtime. I shortened it down to 20 minutes because that's what I'm trying to do, is to do a shortened version. Maybe I'll just do the first 20 minutes and say, if you want to hear the rest, go to the long version. Because it never stopped, right? It just kept coming one bit after another. So we covered a lot of ground in a couple of hours. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, remember to look after one another. But please, please, know that you are worthy and you deserve to look after yourself. And if we can help in any way, that is our joy. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, bye-bye for now.